And we welcome you to another edition of Home Field Advantage here on the My Local Radio Sports Network. I'm Elon Olive.
I'm Aaron Poling.
Anthony Colasuno.
And we are brought to you today by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital, the most caring hospital on earth. And just a heads up, this is going to be a short show. Me and Aaron got to hit the road because we've got soccer in Star Valley and some interesting game times happening. So here's the situation. There are two different streams for each of these games. So if you want to watch the girls' game, you're going to have to go to one. If you want to watch the boys' game, you have to go to another. The situation is the girls will play at 1 o'clock this afternoon, and the boys will play at 5 o'clock this evening. So there will be a bit of an extended break between games. And, you look at this matchup, Aaron, and last time, really all four of these teams got together, all four of these squads got together. It was never a blowout, never a dull game. It was really close all the way to the finish.
No, there were really close games last year in Evanston, and this year the only time that these two teams have been on the field against each other has been a jamboree, and you can kind of take that with a grain of salt just because it's not a full game, and it's also the first time that you're out there, you're out on, I don't know if you're necessarily the first time out on a full field, but you're playing someone else for the first time, and I think there's a lot of things that go into that maybe you wouldn't make that same mistake that you made in a jamboree that you'd make in a game just because it's getting your feet underneath you.
So you're right, the jamboree did have some special, I guess you can say, predetermined factors, I guess you can say. And we're going to take a break because we got a lot of soccer to talk about. So we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll kind of talk about the jamboree and how those things differ. You're tuned in to the My Local Radio Sports Network's Home Field Advantage, brought to you by Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital.
Dylan Wazen, who's another cast member of
When you have an emergency, choose Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. Open 24/7, the professional emergency room staff is trained for trauma, medical, cardiac, pediatric, orthopedic, and obstetric emergencies. Bear Lake Memorial is a critical access level 3 trauma center, offering immediate access to radiology, lab services, surgery, and internal medicine consults. The ER teams are well-trained professionals who are ready to act. When you have an emergency, Bear Lake Memorial Hospital, the most caring hospital on earth.
Out here, we've always worked remote. Out here, stress usually refers to the pull on a rope. Where a stroll in the city is also a stroll in the great outdoors. Where work is a way of life, and life is good. Out here, the backyards are big, and the deals, they're even bigger. This is Southwestern Wyoming, and it's where you can get the biggest deals on a vehicle you want with plenty of hometown hospitality. Heritage Auto, your hometown dealer with the biggest deals.
Whether it's for your home, your ranch, your equipment, or your business, when you need propane, count on the best. T7 Propane in Woodruff. The safe and professional team at T7 Propane offers quality product and the most responsive propane service in the area, so you can enjoy the affordability, reliability, and efficiency of propane. For heating, cooking, grilling, motor fuel, and more, count on the team at T7 for your personal or business propane needs. 435-793-4208.
At Reese Auto Service in Lyman, you will find highly skilled mechanics who will get the job done right the first time. They work on anything from light line jobs of tire alignments, suspension work, and oil changes to heavy line jobs of engine replacement, differentials, and all powertrain components. Make sure all your recreational vehicles are working at top speed by getting them checked at Reese Auto Service in Lyman so your time having fun doesn't end early. Reese Auto Service, 541 State Highway 413, Lyman.
Home Field Advantage, live on the My Local Radio Sports Network. Elon Olive, Anthony Colasuno, and Aaron Poling. And, of course, this is brought to you by our friends at Jake Major with the Bullock Agency of Wyoming and Bear Lake Memorial Hospital. Also, a big thank you to Les Schwab, Plains Tire, and Union for sponsoring our broadcast studio today, as well as Station on Main in Randolph and Heritage Auto in Evanston. All right, so we said we'd talk about those jamborees. So here's the situation with the girls' jamboree. As they did beat Star Valley 2-1, it was agreed that the first half was going to be varsity, the second half would be JV. All goals were scored in the first half. So that is a positive indicator for Carlin Barton's crew. Got a chance to talk with her. Young team, a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores, but it's a lot of girls that have played soccer. And I think this is probably, seems like the later and later we get in the year, the more you get to the sports where it really is advantageous that you have those kind of specialists on your side.
Yeah, and just having players that understand the game, it's going to make it so much easier. Not to say that the team last year didn't understand the game, but when you're a young team, if you're a young team starting from ground zero, where you have to learn the game and learn the system, it becomes a really big issue where if you know the game, it makes it a little bit easier to learn the system. And that's a key to a young team. And as the season goes on, I think this team's going to progress. And usually we see this with young teams where they just get better as the season goes along. So I don't know how they're going to start just because of the young team. You never know. There is that thing where sometimes young teams don't know what they don't know, and they don't know that they're supposed to struggle being a young team. They come out and play very well, which I think they can do.
So the other thing that they said that excites me was they're moving J.C. Bardsley to the wing. So she's going to get some really good touches. She likes going one-on-one. She's going to get her opportunities. That's good. Adelie May is back. She was really starting to catch it at the end of the season last year. Now she's back as a junior. You've also got Celeste Ayala Gomez. She's going to be running that defense. So there's a lot of really exciting things to kind of keep an eye on. Of course, there's Bella Dover. Sydney Lichty is going to be a big part of it this year, I think. Also, Sierra Barnes last year, she kind of was a breakout star at the end. And then Dannon Kohler, who, it's official, she's probably going to be a 4-year starter for this team.
Yeah, and having a young team but also having experience coming back too really, really helps.
Yeah.
And I like that move of Bardsley to the outside. It gives her a little bit more runway to go one-on-one with a left back or a right back, depending on what wing she's on, because when you're in the middle of the field, typically teams will have two separate center backs, one a sweeper that plays a little bit higher up, and if you can navigate around that person, then you have another one you have to navigate around. Going 1-on-2 is a lot harder than if you get her on the wing, get her 1-on-1, and let her try to make a cut to the net, or if she can get the ball across and give her teammates a chance to get a touch to the ball and put it in. I think that's going to help them offensively. But where I think they really need to improve is that Addie May was under siege a lot last year. And if they can hold teams to fewer shots per game and make Addie May's day a little bit easier in net, I think they're going to be a lot better.
Yeah, I think if you can Adelie May is a very competent goalkeeper, but even the most competent goalkeepers, when you're under attack as much as she was last year, especially early in games, because I feel like it took them a while to settle into games last year, it's going to create pressure on her, and when pressure is created, a lot of the time it yields diamonds. We saw some great saves from Adelie May last year, but unfortunately, it's just a game of percentages. At however many shots on goal, something is bound to find the back of the net, especially against the teams like Jackson, Rock Springs, which, by the way, we do have a schedule change for Rock Springs. They've switched home and away games. So this next next weekend when they're supposed to play Rock Springs at Rock Springs, that will actually now be at K. Fackrell Stadium. And then when they were supposed to have Rock Springs here, they are now going to be playing in Rock Springs. So that means they're going to end the season on a huge away run.
Yeah, one final note about Addie May, and you can make as many great saves as you want, but eventually with an 8-foot wide net, there's just going to be one you can't get to, and it's just going to be impossible shots to save. And I think if the Red Devils can kind of limit those really great opportunities, I think they're going to be a much better team, because defensively, I think towards the end of the year last year, they got better defensively, but you can always improve on that side. And in soccer, it kind of seems like if you can play really well defensively, the rest of it will take care of itself, because if you give up no goals, it makes it a lot easier to win rather than giving up 4.
So we talk a lot about J.C. Bardsley kind of being a big tone setter for this team. I think another tone setter for this team is going to be Kinley Hinsey playing in that midfield position. It kind of all starts with that midfield. If you can get that right, then it's going to make things easier for Celeste Ayala Gomez and the rest of that defense. They've got a lot of great defensemen on this team. It's just, I think last year we saw a really, really young defense. I mean, Dannon Kohler's on that defense. She was a freshman starting.
Yeah.
Same thing with Sierra Barnes. She was coming off the bench as a freshman and putting in some very good, very aggressive minutes. A lot of things that are going to pay dividends. And I think those dividends, I'm not going to say the window for a state run is flying open this year. They could do it. But I think it's one of those deals where it's like you keep staying the course, especially with these young players. Eventually, you're going to have your opportunities. You're going to have your time. And if you capitalize on those opportunities at the right place and the right time, you could find yourself going to the state tournament, and it could very well be this year. But it's one of those deals where you just have to trust the process of developing this young talent, because there's a lot of good natural young talent as well.
Yeah, and Hintzy's a game breaker.
Yes.
We saw that last year from 30 yards out. She
Yeah.
could put it in the back of the net. And that's not an ability that every soccer player has.
Yeah.
That's a rare thing to be able to do that.
If there is a free kick awarded today, when
There
there is
probably
a
will
free
be.
kick awarded today, it's the first game of the season. There's a lot of kind of rusty type mistakes. When there is a free kick awarded today, and if it's inside 25 yards and it's right on, you and I know who's taking it.
And it doesn't even have to be a shot on goal, even
No.
if it's from like 35 yards
Well,
out. She could put the ball in the middle of the box with the best of them too. That's one of the things that really impressed me is she had some really good free kicks. It's just the Red Devils have to get to the end, get on the other side of them, and be able to bang them home. As I think, moving Bardsley to the wing, I think that'll help that out a lot.
I was
too.
about to say, Bardsley last year played kind of a lot of an attacking mid position last year. Now they're moving her forward into that forward spot work. That's your job, is cash in. If Hintzy can connect, find Bardsley inside the box, that's going to be a connection I think is going to be lethal for the Red Devils this year.
Absolutely. Anthony, what do you got?
Yeah, I was about to say, Anthony, we kind of took it over, didn't we?
Back and forth. But yeah, when you speak of all those names, Bardsley and the midfield having to stand up, kind of be the anchor in the midfield, in the attacking or the defensive side, to give either the strikers or the defensive backs, the left backs, right backs, the opportunity to stop the ball. That's going to be huge. And you talk about how this is still a little bit of a young team, but they've grown from last year. You're building up a program by doing that.
Yeah.
And you're building up that standard as well as these players probably by the end of the season, if they're in a contention spot for state, they know what's on the line. They know the standard. And even say next year this team makes state, that's a huge standard to follow. So overall, a great young future for this Red Devil soccer program.
And the season hasn't even started, and like, it feels exciting.
Yes.
It feels, there's a lot of excitement I personally have for Coach Carlin Barton and this crew. I really think they can make some noise in the West this year. It's going to be difficult because you got Kelly Walsh, you've got Jackson, who just won the state title on the girls' side. You've got Rock Springs, who won the state title 2 years ago. It's going to be difficult. Soccer is like the opposite of basketball, where the power really does lie on this side of the state. The toughest teams play in the West, so it's going to be a gauntlet. But I think Evanston's got a chance to kind of be in the mix for things this year.
You got to start today, though.
Yeah.
You have to start
You need
today.
to get a win
especially
today against Star Valley.
Star Valley today, and then Jackson. You could still beat them. Don't get me wrong, but that's a very good team that you're welcoming at K Fackrell tomorrow. So
Yep.
it'll be much more comfortable to go into that matchup 1-0 versus 0-1.
All right, real quick before we run out of time, because we got to let Anthony talk about his Mountain View Buffaloes.
I don't think we do. I'm just kidding.
But let's talk about the boys. They will play Star Valley at 5 o'clock tonight. It's going to be a fun game. Last time these two teams met, extra time ended up in a draw. Everything you could ask for going into that game. I think we knew it was going to be a close one. Every year, this one is some type of close, dramatic finish. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, of course, you've got Jordan Mendez coming back, Drew Barker coming back. You've got Jager Lichty back in goal, which he looks like he's gained some jumps, some opportunities
He's
there.
grown.
Yeah, he's going to be – I mean, it's funny because I talked with Coach about it. I said he's a junior now, and all the coaches say that the biggest athletic jump you see is from that sophomore year to the junior year. And I think you're going to see that with Jager Lichty this year. You've also got the foreign exchange student, Nicola, excuse me. He's going to, I think, be the thing that I hear from Coach about him is he's a calming presence when they're on the ball. When he's on the ball, everything calms down.
Going back to Jagger, just having a year of experience under your belt as a goalkeeper and kind of understanding, where your line is, how to attack certain things, how to play certain crosses, that'll help immensely as well. As keeper, a lot of it too is mental.
Yeah.
Is you got to know when to be in the right spot and timing. Your timing has to be great. So just having that year under the belt will help, and then having a calming influence. I mean,
Well,
we haven't seen him play yet, but I mean, just from what we've heard, there's a lot to be excited about. If there's a player on your team that when they have the ball, if all the rest of your team just takes a deep breath and can relax, that calming influence is huge, especially for a team that they're bringing back a lot of their goals from last year in Barker and Mendez, as they put quite a few in the back of the net.
Well, and Barker's going to be that does everything he can to make sure that the goal is scored type player for the Red Devils.
He had a lot of goals where he was sticking his nose in the thick of things and just getting a foot to a ball that was maybe 5 feet out in front of the net, but tipping it in. Goal is a goal is a goal.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. They ask how many, not ask how.
I mean, losing Ricky Renova hurts.
Yes.
That does hurt. Losing the seniors that they had last year.
Absolutely.
There's some big names that have been a part of this program that not being there, it's going to leave a spot that you have to fill in. But there's those names we talked about, but there's even more freshmen, sophomores on this team this year. They are going to be, for the first time in a while, considered a young team. And I think that's actually exciting because it gives you a chance to kind of start that whole process over again. And this is also this young team. This is also the young team that is the travel team, the Evanston Express, that coach also works with as well. So these aren't soccer novices. These are guys that know what they're doing.
Knowing the game helps, especially like we talked about with the girls. Like being young, but knowing the game helps. And especially with the formation switch that the Red Devils are going through, they're going to try to play a little more defensive this year.
Which I love.
I love that too. One, because too many times last year, they'd be down 3-4-0 too early on in the game where it doesn't matter. You're too far behind to come back. You can try, but you're in a tough spot.
Okay, so I've only been a real soccer fan for the last 3-4 years since I came here and started watching soccer games all spring. But it's one of those deals where and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're a much more lifelong fan than me. But it seems like if you can make those first 20 minutes absolutely grueling for the other side to get anything in there, it settles in and it officially becomes a close game.
Oh, absolutely.
Survive that first 20
Settling
minutes.
into a game, I think, is a big thing in all sports. And sometimes I think we get too caught up in, the word settling in, thinking that it means like relaxing at the start of the game. But no, what that really means is like super aggressive, being on the ball and just, showing the other team, hey, we're here to play. And if you can get through that first 20 minutes, if you can get through the first half without allowing a goal, you're going to win a lot of those games. And I think also another reason I like this is a lot of times goals are built up from the back in soccer.
Yep.
It's not like a lot of different sports where it's just all the forwards. But no, soccer, usually to score a goal, you have to be 11-player unit that's connected as one. And if you can be better in the back end than they were last year and make better first passes, the first touch, and just those long balls, those are going to be a key difference in whether the Red Devils are going to make that next step, I think, or if they're going to struggle again. But I think just with this format, with this formation, I think that's really going to help them be able to get into the offense and also not allow as many goals.
I'm super excited to see what happens. So, reminder. Girls today in Star Valley play at 1. Boys play at 5. Tomorrow, home opener at K. Fackrell Stadium against Jackson. Girls will play at noon. Boys will play at 4. And you catch all 4 of those games live on mylocalradio.com. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to break down the Mountain View Lander matchup taking place this afternoon over at Greenspace. This is the My Local Radio Sports Network Home Field Advantage.
Hey there, I'm Jake Major, your local Medicare and insurance benefits advisor for the Bullock Agency of Wyoming. With over 25 years of experience protecting families in rural America, we understand the importance of having affordable insurance coverage. Whether you're searching for extra coverage or looking to understand and switch your Medicare options, I can help you find a range of top-rated insurance companies and tailor-made packages based on your needs. Call me, Jake Major, today at 307-209-4685 and let's discuss your insurance options. We're the Bullock Agency of Wyoming when benefits matter.
If you've never heard a mechanic say they truly care, then you've been at the wrong place. Stacy's Repair in Woodruff is a family-owned and operated business open since 1992. Offering all types of maintenance and repair services, you can be sure your vehicle is operating at its best. Whether your vehicle is older or the newest model, gas or diesel, we fix and maintain them all. Also offering chip repair, windshield replacement, and tires. When your vehicle needs a mechanic, bring it to the ones who truly care. Stacy's Repair in Woodruff.
Founded in 1938 with the hopes and dreams of serving the Bridger Valley, Benedict's Trading Company was started. Now 85 years and 3 generations later, Benedict's Market is still serving the Bridger Valley by offering the highest quality meats and fresh produce to having fresh baked items and hot deli options. Benedict's Market is your one-stop for all of your grocery needs. Benedict's Market offers the best services in a modern setting to make your shopping both quick and easy. Visit them today at 950 North Highway 414, Mountain View, Wyoming.
Welcome back live into the My Local Radio Sports Network. Home field advantage. Anthony Colasino alongside Elon Olive and Aaron Poling. And now we have the Mountain View Buffaloes. They kick off the season today at Green Space against the Lander Valley Tigers. We'll start on the girls' side, and this year's team is going to be really young. They lost 9 seniors last year. So it's going to be a lot of names that we see on the volleyball and basketball court. Payne Van Dusen, Allie Seibert, Charlie Porter, kind of leading the way for this roster and being those star seniors, along with Hannah Peterson, who is a LCCC commit.
Losing 9 seniors, but Mountain View is, more often than not, actually, I think every year that Mountain View's played soccer, the Lady Buffaloes have made it to the state tournament.
Yes,
so
they made it last year.
Yeah, they did last year. I know they did the year before, 2 years ago, the first chance they had the opportunity. But losing 9 seniors, that's going to be a hill they have to overcome. But athleticism, we talked a little bit about specialization, how it's important in soccer, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
But athleticism is still athleticism. We saw it happen on the volleyball court for Mountain View, winning a state championship. We saw it happen on the basketball court, going all the way to the Final Four. So there's no reason to believe that Mountain View's those struggles are all of a sudden going to appear on the soccer pitch this year.
Very true, very true, and especially when you have technicians at certain positions that just dominate the game and kind of hold that anchor spot, be that maestro on the soccer pitch. It is very key, and they could be game wreckers or game changers for their squad.
Well, you can always teach the fundamentals of a game and how to, you can always teach push your forward to the outside. You can always teach that stuff. What you can't teach is just being able to run by somebody. That's just gifted. If you have those gifts, it makes it a lot easier to learn those other things. But I feel like this Mountain View team, that they're very strong fundamentally in the games that I watch them. And they're going to be able to – they won't have to rebuild. They'll be able to reload, I think, this year. And they're going to be able to make some noise with a roster that's going to be a lot of turnover from last year. And, there's excitement that comes with that. There's new players playing new roles. And it kind of – I don't want to say freshens the game up, but it's a new challenge for players, when you get a new challenge, it's always exciting.
Well, and then you talk about the boys for Mountain View.
Yes.
You and I got a chance to see the boys firsthand. I saw them twice. You saw them once. And the one thought we had was it's a young team, but once they figure it out, they could be in the running to make it state as well.
And talking to head coach Piccola yesterday, they are returning majority of their roster. They're returning Nash Piccola, who was an all-state selection last year. Aiden Harmon, who was a freshman forward, averaged a goal per game last year as a freshman. He's going to be returning as a sophomore. And then also Coulter Timms, who allowed under a goal per game as a freshman keeper. He's back as a sophomore. So when you can have freshmen and just the underclassmen step up in those big-time roles and now say, oh, wait, they got 2-3 more years left of soccer, they're probably going to be better than they were last year. It's a huge step forward for the
that's
squad.
Scary because that points last year, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, I felt like they were a team that could make it to the state tournament.
Yeah, in the game that we saw, they played a pretty solid. I forget who was.
I think it was
It was
Lander.
Lander
yeah.
Valley. Yeah, a pretty good Lander Valley team that on the boys' side earlier in the season had taken it to Mountain View pretty good, but they came back at Green Space. They're able to bounce back a couple of times because Lander Valley had the lead a couple of times in that game, but they stuck to it. And I think that's the biggest thing to learn as a team is once you learn that you can come back in these games, you're never really out of it. Once you realize that, hey, we're one shot away at all times. If you're one goal down, one deflection off a shin pad of a defender, suddenly Nash Picola's in alone, and you got a 1-1 game. So
And
learning that, I think, was huge for them last year.
And Tim's as a freshman averaging less than a goal per game. That's impressive right there.
A goal against.
A goal against
0.8.
allowed as a
Yeah,
keeper.
as a
I mean,
keeper.
and again, we talked about it. Every year there are massive athletic jumps in a high school athlete's career. Freshman to sophomore, there's going to be a massive jump. Sophomore to junior next year, whoa, the jump's going to be massive if he can stay on this trajectory. But it's all going to be about how this team continues to grow because you're right. I remember looking at the roster last year being like freshman, and then thinking, okay, and then watching them, as Aaron said, compete so well against the older Lander Valley team. The impression we got was they figured this out and they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, they're going to be super tough to beat. And, of course, a rematch against Lander today to start out the opening season. And down at Green Space, kickoff for the girls scheduled for 3 p.m., kickoff for the boys scheduled for 5 p.m. I'll be live on the call there. And we're going to wrap up this edition of Home Field Advantage, a My Local Radio Sports Network podcast. Anthony Colasuno.
Elon Olive.
Aaron Poling.
Signing out.